I'm curious. Like, I'm so pumped JDM is getting that shot. I think like this fight is so winnable for him. So winnable. Because you see, looking at it very, very casually, it's kind of the matchup is kind of similar to Belal fighting Leon. All right. But I think JDM, especially after his fight with Burns, has obviously been working that kind of defensive game, been able to punch through it, right? But also, I think his close pocket fighting is better, so that when Belal closes that gap, which was giving Leon Edwards a lot of trouble because Leon likes fighting on the outside, JDM doesn't like need to fight on the outside. He can fight very, very well inside. So when Belal closes that distance, that space, Jack may hurt him there.
You know, I don't know enough about JDM. I've never really seen JDM in the nitty gritty. Besides that Gilbert Burns fight, I don't know, man. I like JDM. I like the sound of his Jack Della Maddalena. It makes me want to dance. But I just feel like Belal is just too much, bro. Belal is he's too experienced, man. I think he's too problematic with this mixing of his fighting, and I think he knows how to close distance very well. And not just that, but he's gotten better too on top. His top control, you know, working out with Khabib and all those guys, where he's been able to take a lot of that material. And I think I personally got Belal, man, winning by pretty much unanimous decision.
Jack Della Maddalena is a very exciting fighter. He's a tremendous striker, and he really does have all the skills in the world. My worry, or my thought, is with the way Belal Muhammad has been fighting recently, the pressure, the wrestling, he seems to be a nightmare of a matchup for Jack Della Maddalena. But at the end of the day, fights happen for a reason. We don't know the result, and you never know what goes on inside that octagon. And Jack Della Maddalena has the skills to unseat Belal Muhammad. It's a great fight, and it's a good fight for the division if Shavkat can't go. But again, it's one of those young guys, Chael, that has worked his way up through the UFC. He's undefeated, and now he's getting an opportunity to become a world champion.
Striking-wise, I think JDM is much better than Belal. I think Belal will probably has kicks and all of those little strikes, but as far as throwing hands, as far as relaxation there, as far as setting the traps with the striking, I think JDM is definitely a little bit more seasoned, or even better there in that aspect. But it's an intriguing fight. I don't think it's a landslide that Belal is going to win the fight. I do think it's a very intriguing fight. Honestly, I like the fight.
But I think from a skill set perspective, Muhammad Belal has got to be just like in the best place, because he's dealing with a boxing heavy fighter who doesn't really do well against grapplers. We've seen him against Basil Hafez. We've seen him against Gilbert Burns, and he seemed to struggle a little bit, even though he beat Gilbert. And even though he won both of those fights, he seemed to struggle a little bit. But Belal right now is on top of his game. If I'm Belal, I'm like, whew, this is, all things considered, probably the easiest stylistic matchup at the top of that division.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, like, I'm better everywhere. People were going to say, and they're going to ready to come out like, oh, he got hands. But I think they just underestimate my hands and my striking, and I just went against the best striker in the UFC, and Leon Edwards, so-called. I train with the best striker in the UFC, and Ignacio Bahamondes. I train with Yair Rodriguez. Both these guys, if you've seen them spar, you guys seen it, they're a different level. So when I have a guy that's basic, and Jack, who's just boxing, right? He has really good hands, he has good power, but he breaks a lot of these guys down because he hasn't fought anybody like me. His biggest weakness is his experience. He's never been in a big fight like that. Like for me, I sat there and I had to fight Gilbert Burns for a number one contender spot. I had to fight undefeated Sean Brady. I had to fight Leon Edwards in Manchester. I've had the pressure of all of that on me. He hasn't had a pressure fight yet. He hasn't fought a pressure fighter yet. So for me, I think I'm going to go in there and I'm going to walk through him like I thought I was going to do to everybody else, and I've done everybody else.
Belal on the feet. Look, Belal doesn't get enough credit for his stand-up. Don't forget, you know, he pieced up Vicente Luque, you know, and people are like, oh yeah, but you know, guys like Leon Edwards are better strikers. Yeah, he beat Leon Edwards.
Yeah, badly.
You know what I mean? Like it was a one-sided fight.
Except for one round.
All of that being said, like he's come a long way on the feet. He's not just a wrestler anymore. He's not just a grinder anymore. He does it all. Yeah. And he deserves the credit. He deserves more credit, 100%. But I look at that fight and I think to myself, man, that's going to be a good fight.
Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena was one I didn't really see coming. Really excited about that fight. Super cool to see Jack Della Maddalena get himself into a title fight. I think that those two guys match up really interesting with each other, especially with Jack already competing against a couple really high level grapplers and finding his way to success in those fights while dealing with some adversity while he was doing it. Again, Belal is on his own run, and as much as he's been doubted and kind of looked over and passed by, the guy's a legitimate champion, and right now he's got a pretty good stranglehold on that division.
But Jack can knock out anybody. Obviously, that's been shown. He's a very hard puncher. But man, you can't bet against Belal. Like he's gone out there and proved that he can beat anybody in the world, and he has. So you have to admire that, and you have to respect that. And yeah, I'm going to favor him, especially if you go look at how the Jack fight was going with Gilbert until that last minute. So I think Belal has a good chance for sure.
There are some guys to where you can take down 50 million times, they're still going to keep trying to get up. And as wrestlers, we know how annoying that is. It's very, very hard to do that with a guy like Jack Della Maddalena. Now, I do think Belal, this is a fight. The only thing that we'll mention, Henry, that I don't like is taking such a fight like this on your first fight back after such a long layoff. That's the one thing that I don't like from JDM.
Oh, for JDM, yeah.
Who's going to give Belal Muhammad problems, in your opinion, when it comes to, a fight? Well, Maddalena's got power, so he's got good stand-up. His stand-up is clean, it's powerful, and he's defensively, his wrestling defense has come a long ways. He's tough to take down. Mm-hmm. So you look and you go, the fight makes sense. I understand it. I still give Belal Muhammad, I don't think he gets enough respect. I give him the edge in this fight. I think he's the better fighter overall.
I love the fight ultimately, and I think this is actually really good news for Belal Muhammad, because I crapped on him. I crapped on him for a long time. Thought he was a transitional champion. Thought he was overachieving to get to this point. Took advantage of a short camp, Gilbert Burns, blah, blah, blah. I was wrong. I now remember the name. And now you're giving him a JDM, who we all love. Great fighter, fun fighter. Year layoff. Did not look great against Gilbert until he needed to look great in the final minute with that knee. But up until then was out grappled. And what does Belal do great? So suddenly Belal's in a spot where he's finally healthy to get the title defense here.
Yeah, but I think Belal has better wrestling than he does jiu-jitsu.
Okay, sure.
So I think he'll get takedowns and fight him on the wall a fair bit.
Yep.
But I don't think he'll hold him down as well as
That's
Burns
a good point.
Burns' jiu-jitsu is so high level.
Yeah.
So high level. And, the best example of that is when he fought Chimaev. Chimaev's wrestling's next level, man.
Yeah.
Okay? Personally understanding. Like, it is next level.
Yeah.
And he was afraid to be on the ground with Burns. Okay? So that I think that is an indicator on things.
I'm not saying this fight's going to be easy for Belal. It's not going to be easy. But I do think that Belal will win this fight. I think he'll win it convincingly. I think he may even potentially get a finish. As well as I know, when you have a fighter who can wrestle the way Belal can, it makes fighters who are mainly boxing, it makes them a little more hesitant to throw their punches. Sure. So that makes it a little bit easier for them to get caught. You take a look at how Khabib caught Conor. You take a look at other top wrestlers, how they're able to catch these guys, on the feet, world-class strikers, because they're always concerned about being taken down.
It's good to see Belal back, healthy, ready to go. One of the best in shape cardio machines that we have inside the UFC. And Jack is hungry. Jack is a wrecking ball. He's a machine. He's got good boxing. He's looking to take guys' heads off as usual. And I believe this is going to be an absolute banger and a great fight.